Ladies and gentlemen, assignment Wilmington today, on our American Thanksgiving Day, takes us from Wilmington out to the countryside, up the Kennett Pike, and along the rolling Mount Shannon Road, and then down a real country road to the picturesque Christ Church in the heart of Christiana 100, not far from the historic Brandywine. This was no mere ride to church on Thanksgiving Day. This is an assignment to an American church right here in our district, where the parishioners are bringing their offerings, symbols of their good fortune during the past year, and also symbols of their devotion to the Christian principle, that it is blessed to give, that it is incumbent upon us to remember the less fortunate in the days of our own well-being. But first, let us describe this quaint building. Christ Church, not more than a few miles from Wilmington's Mid-City District. We made this trip to the church this morning with our news editor, Bill Frank. Now, Bill, can you give us a brief description of Christ Church?
Well, Christ Church was built in about 1856 of Brandywine granite in Gothic style. Members of the DuPont family and other families of Christiana 100 have worshipped here since 1848, when the Episcopal services were first held in a building constructed for the Brandywine Manufacturers Sunday School.
Thank you, Bill Frank. And now let's go inside Christ Church. We walk across the large macadam parking place, under the huge white oak trees that are now showing only a few of their leaves that are dark brown and a bit shriveled. But as we walk toward the church, we can look out over the valley, down where the Brandywine flows. The valley there is covered with trees still resplendent in the varied autumnal colors. Also, as we go into the church, we pass the large tent that has been set up on the lawn not more than 100 feet from the church. The parishioners are already arriving with their offerings of sheep, cattle, chickens, fruits, and vegetables, which will be distributed to others in the true spirit of Thanksgiving. And now the church itself. Well, we'll let Bill Frank describe the interior.
Of course, by this time, most everyone associates Christ Church as the place where Franklin D. Roosevelt Jr. was married to Ethel DuPont. But really, in the past few years, Christ Church has been better known as the church where the Reverend Dr. William C. Munns is the rector. Dr. Munns came here from Corpus Christi, Texas, and he has been doing a marvelous job here. Christ Church is not an ornate church. It is rather somber inside, with its carved oak pews, its columns, and what are known as groined arches. The middle aisle of the church has ceramic tiles that are several hundred years old. It's a quiet, dignified church, and of late has become a very important factor in the entire community, not restricted, by the way, to the wealthy families of Christiana 100, but to the many, many others who have come to love and admire Dr. Munn.
All right, Bill Frank, thank you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Thanksgiving Day services are about to begin in Christ Church. And now, before these services begin, I would like to describe the outside scene for you. This huge tent here has been set up to house these gifts which have been brought to the church by the members of the organization. The gifts will be distributed to families throughout the Wilmington area immediately following the church services. The tent is chock full of articles. There are canned goods, clothing, children's toys, and even games. In one corner, over there to my right, is a shiny white Marden stove, which I'm sure will certainly help some family immeasurably in the furnishing of a home. Right behind me, and incidentally serving as a stand for our WILM wire recorder, is a crate of bewildered-looking chickens. And outside the tent, straight ahead of me here, lined up in the parking lot, are 15 or 20 trucks, each containing livestock, pigs, cows, and chickens. In one truck, I noticed some sheep, all dressed up for the occasion with red ribbons around their necks. Ladies and gentlemen, this is certainly an inspiring scene. The smiling faces of the people and the many cries of Happy Thanksgiving among them add to the feeling of well-being that one has just by being present at Christ Church this morning. Speaking of the people here, I am sure that there are many who are familiar to you. So I'm going to call in Bill Frank once again to tell you about some of the people who are taking part in this Thanksgiving Day custom here at Christ Church this morning.
Well, Jack, I'd like to point out some of the people who are here. And by the way, it's a real community gathering. And over there, I see R.R.M. Carpenter, who has brought a large truck. By the way, the truck has a huge hog. And over there, there's Sonny Baker, who has also brought agricultural gifts. I can also see Mrs. Molly Down, wife of Colonel Down. And there's Chick Laird, who has brought a coop of Rhode Island chickens. He's already set them inside the tent, alongside of the other chickens. And Captain Hudson Draveau of the United States Naval Reserves is here with his wife. Captain Draveau, by the way, is one of the hard-working members of the Episcopal Diocese of Delaware. And I also see Mrs. John P. Neal, widow of Federal Judge John P. Neal.
I'd like to interrupt right here, Bill, and see if I can interview Dr. Munns. I see him standing over there. Thank you, Bill. Ladies and gentlemen, while Bill Frank is bringing Dr. Munns over here to the microphone, I want to tell you that this old-fashioned American Thanksgiving Day celebration at Christ Church has attracted national attention. The Associated Press has sent a photographer here. But here's Dr. Munns.
Good morning, Dr. Munns.
Good morning, sir.
Would you mind telling us a little bit about the significance of the revival of this particular custom?
Well, it has grown out of the war, a feeling of appreciation on the part of some of our people, particularly beginning with Mr. Downs, who felt that since we had been spared the ravages of war, that we should have a good deal to be thankful for, and that we would like to express that by contributing to God some of the things that we had made or helped produce.
Thank you, Dr. Munns. Our facilities just now do not permit us to interview Bishop McKinstry, who is here with the Reverend Dr. Charles L. Candy. Bishop McKinstry, incidentally, Bishop of Delaware, has come here for this very unique American Thanksgiving Church program. And later in the morning, he will take part in the services, at which Dr. Candy will preach. We talked with Bishop McKinstry, who spoke of the thanks we should have in our hearts on this Thanksgiving Day for the many, many blessings which have been bestowed upon us, and to share with our brothers of our own worldly goods in the true spirit of thanksgiving. I also spoke with Dr. Candy. He, too, was inspiring in his remarks as he talked of the deeply religious meaning of Thanksgiving and the benefits for which we should be deeply grateful. Well, now, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to tell you some more of what's going on here at Christ Church. Well, here's Bill Frank with some notes.
Well, here's a real human interest touch. Several weeks ago, Mrs. W.F. Williams, one of the veteran parishioners at Christ Church, heard about today's Thanksgiving Day offering. And then she began to knit children's sweaters and hats and stockings. Mrs. Williams is fondly known here in the parish as Aunt Tidgy. She's about 83 years old, I think, and she has worked on these clothes fast and furiously. And here they are on display, and later will be given to some needy children. By the way, the people who are going to be helped from today's offering will be generally veterans and veterans' families.
Okay, Bill. Well, most everyone is beginning to drift toward the church. Someone, by the way, has just brought a half-dozen fat turkeys. The more trucks and station wagons are arriving. We have 2 state troopers here this morning, directing traffic as it comes down the Christ Church lane into the large parking place. Well, in a minute or so, the tent, now filled with produce and fruit and livestock, will be about deserted. Ladies and gentlemen, this is an inspiring sight. Here in this little segment of America, where Americans bring their offerings in the real biblical spirit, in humility and with earnestness of heart.